The narcissist doesn't just at the end want to discard people. We're going to get to this phase, just a little precursor to it. They don't just want to discard someone. The satisfaction comes from knowing that they have destroyed someone. They need to know that you've been destroyed after they leave. We'll come to this. Now we're getting to the part I was initially saying I dread talking about it. So, hello, Venus and Mars, explicitly at this point, at this phase, which is maintenance through control. We're getting Venus as an enforcer now, not as a merger, not as someone or something that establishes union anymore. So let us begin. It's safe to say that by this stage, fantasy is no longer blooming for the narcissist. The narcissist is trying very hard to maintain here. And maintenance in the world of the narcissist is synonymous with the word control. When we look back, what was once promised as a Venetian kind of a harmony, cooperation, love, connection, and mutual delight now becomes an act of enforcement in this stage. The narcissist starts to use Venus and not as a bond, not as a binding agent. Harmony here is no longer based on mutual agreements. It's the kind of a harmony that the narcissist wants. It's not mutual. And the narcissist has to start enforcing this, is what constitutes as peace for the narcissist, not what is peaceful in the relationship. And the way the narcissist does this is to regulate the relationship either through very subtle or even overt manipulation tactics. And this can show up in all kinds of ways. For instance, they will control when affection is given. If you try to hug them, they will pull away, for example. They will pull away from the partner emotionally if they feel that the partner is out of line. And they'll go through this intermittent holding back and then loving. So they only give you warmth when you are in line with how they need you to be. They want compliance. So when the compliance is restored, they are loving again and they're warm. They are very prone to withholding sex, and not withholding because of natural fluctuations, but as punishment. Or they might even use sex and sexuality as a tool of seduction, either to keep the partner in line or to give hints of giving it to other people so that the partner aligns to the image that the narcissist needs from them. Like if you live with a narcissist, they might not sleep in the same bed with you for months, no sex, no affection, and they'll constantly be testing you. Like if you conform to what it is that they need from you, they'll come closer. The minute that you don't, again, the whole pattern repeats. They can even go so far as when communication can happen. For instance, they will dictate what you should be talking about because that's what they want to talk about. They'll dictate which emotions are allowed and which ones are not allowed. I talked about that in the first video. Like if you're crying, the narcissist will look at you and be like, you're so annoying. You're so manipulative. Every time I come to have this feeling or this thing, you cry, not realizing that the other person is actually hurt. They can start to enforce silence, but either physically not talking to you or removing themselves from the hour to hour or days of your life. They can become very criticizing about the partner's appearance. They can start to put pressure on them to dress a certain way. And when this usually happens, it's not because they really care what you're wearing. It's just like how your image is being projected onto them because they don't have that boundary to realize your sense of style and what you do is about you and it has nothing to do with them. And if you're have a very connected life, connected as in like enmeshed kind of a life with a narcissist where your finances are connected or you're dependent on the narcissist, this is very painful because this is where a lot of the power plays and the control comes from, which is through finances. Money can be offered one day and then revoked another day, or you're going to go to do the grocery shopping and there's an assumption that there's money to buy food. You go there and non-sufficient funds, and then it's offered again. It's just how well you correspond to what they want. When you do, there's them accommodating what it is you need. If not, then everything's withheld. So in some, access is very much conditional. Emotional intimacy is conditional. For the narcissist, at this point, everything becomes conditional and must be earned back. And you got to remember, Video number one again. The narcissist was loved conditionally by its own mother. This is what it knows. This is the script that it got, and it rehearsed it a million times, and now it is him or her. So the narcissist knows how to play this game really well. It's almost like going to wars of attrition with someone else. Other people can't withstand it, and they can just play this game for years and years and years. And it's almost as if they're getting some sort of a satisfaction, because every time they get you to conform, it's a point of satisfaction. And I guess the most confusing part of this is that all of it is framed under the name of love. Like they'll even say to you, I want the best for you, while they're doing all these crazy things. Or they'll say, I know what you need. Or the most annoying one or hurtful one, you're overreacting. You're being too sensitive. And we just have to remember the narcissist is doing all of this to preserve its fantasy. The partner cannot disrupt this illusion. So every time you do, you will be punished for it. That's what the narcissist does. And at this point, the relationship feels very rigid. The roles feel very fixed. All the energy that's being going back and forth, it's all transactional. And usually what happens at this stage is that the partner of the narcissist starts to have very deep, intense, and sometimes even irrational fears. And a lot of it is coming from, like, I don't want to do the wrong thing. This could be unconscious, but it's like, I don't want to do the wrong thing because you know you're going to be punished. You don't want to trigger the narcissist. That's where the fear is coming from. So you censor yourself, you stay quiet, you become timid. You pull back, you don't fight back anymore because you're getting exhausted. You are of a healthy mind. But I'm telling you, they can go to wars of attrition. This stuff doesn't faze them. If anything, they're waiting. They're doing the punishing and they're waiting like, is she or he, are they going to correspond or not? And there's such a satisfaction where you actually give in to them. So they actually thrive off of this while healthy people will fall apart. Like, think about how dysfunctional that Venus archetype is becoming here. Because Venus is about softness, receptivity, cooperation, shared joy. With the narcissist, all of these things are used as a mechanism to pressurize someone else. They're all acts of manipulation rather than reciprocity. Like for the partner, the longing for connection is still there, but they're just trapped in a loop of anxiety, second guessing oneself. It becomes a game of self-censorship. And in the background of the mind, there's always this question, is it okay to say this? Is it okay to talk about that? Is it okay to go there? Is it okay to talk to that person? What do I have to do to get the warmth back? Like your entire mind becomes consumed with what the narcissist needs. This is what's crazy about this stage. Your mind is hijacked. I was talking about in the Mercury video. Mercury's function is hijacked by the false self, and the false self will hijack your mind. And you know what? When people talk about narcissistic abuse, the primary form of this abuse is for you to start feeling invisible. And it's because of this stage. You have to fade. You have to erase yourself, not to lose the narcissist, not to constantly be punished if you're staying in this relationship. And your mind is in a loop of, what do I need to do to satisfy this person? Which is essentially the question of, how do I play the right role in this person's story so that I am not punished? You're just becoming non-existent in some ways, just like the true self of the narcissist is non-existent. It atrophied and it disappeared, and its place there came a false self. The same thing is starting to happen to you. This is a lot of people who have experienced narcissistic abuse. The things that they say is that I felt like I was fading. I felt drained all the time. I felt drained emotionally, physically, psychologically, spiritually, financially, in every way. There's a sense that you're losing your sense of vitality at this stage. And then some people will even have somatic experiences like mysterious aches, pains, inflammation, chest tightness, can't breathe, digestive issues. And other people actually go through severe depression and they don't feel like they have a clear cause for it. It's even hard to diagnose it as depression. because suddenly you're waking up late, you don't have an appetite, you have too much appetite, you feel completely disengaged. There's something strange about the human mind when we start doing something in a particular area of life, it starts to seep into all areas of life. So the person doesn't just have to dissolve and erase themselves relative to the narcissist. They'll notice that they're doing that in every facet of their life. And on some level, this is not just happening emotionally, it's also happening energetically. It's like that Venusian life force is just being siphoned off. Venus represents sex, sexuality, beauty, the five senses, sensual pleasure. All of it is just dying. In some ways, not only the partner here is not being nourished by love, because love never existed from the beginning, but the partner is being starved by the fantasies and the illusions of the narcissist. And the crazy thing is, initially, before one understands what's happening, the partner is trying to get the magic back. So they try to comply, accommodate, and often diminishing themselves and their well-being just to keep the peace. Peace is a signification for Venus. But with the narcissist, there can never be any peace. Only dazzling performance of the narcissist and the way that it needs to affirm itself. If you can understand that, and if you can be okay with that, being with the narcissist, you might have an amazing, crazy life. But you cannot exist. You can only exist if you're at the service of the narcissist and its false self and its fantasies. And this brings us to the next stage. And this is when the fantasy starts to crack. It's noticeable by the narcissist. He knows he or she no longer has control. And it's also the person in a relationship with the narcissist can't deny what's up next either. And no matter how much the partner tries to keep up with this role designated to them, they will end up showing their true self because they're actually in possession of one. And the true self of the partner will reveal to the narcissist their false self, and this will not be tolerated. There will be disagreements, there will be fights, the person will fight back at some point. And you know what? In healthy relationships, having disagreements, even having healthy fights, not crazy toxic fights, is actually a way to deepen the relationship and the bond because it's an opportunity for real intimacy. The other person sees where we have certain sensitivities, where we have certain needs, how we need those needs met, where we're vulnerable. And it's at that point that two people come to some mutual understanding of what they can do for each other. And this deepens the bond. But for the narcissist, this is the beginning of the end of its perfect delusion, illusion, and fantasy. So it's the beginning of disintegration. In fact, the narcissist seeing that you have vulnerabilities, that you have needs, it feels betrayed by this. And if you think about it, you didn't abuse them, you were not cruel to them, you didn't abandon them, but by being your true self is a kind of a betrayal to the narcissist. And that's because you are no longer fitting the image and the fantasy. You are not validating the false self. The narcissist is literally and actually falling apart at their core. Because what holds up the false self, what holds up the narcissist is you confirming their false self that is real. And that requires your conformity. Your existence is offensive to the narcissist at this point. Like your true self, your real personality, your real preferences, your complexities, your quirks, all of it is just a violation to the narcissist. And that's because you disrupted the illusion. And the narcissist cannot and will not tolerate that. And let's just take a quick minute to understand why the narcissist feels so deeply about this. Okay, so we have to go back to that object relation because a narcissist has a fundamental problem with object relations. And as I was explaining earlier, they don't truly relate to others as someone who's separate, autonomous being who have their own internal lives. Instead, they take a snapshot of someone. It's like a static image of you, like a Polaroid. It's an image that is supposed to flatter the false self. And the image becomes frozen in the mind. And that means that they don't see you. They see how they want to see you, the way that is fitting to their fantasy. So the minute that they take that snapshot, which was happening in the idealization process, they don't see you as a living person. They don't see you as someone who has the right to evolve and change. You're just treated as a fixed reflection, a kind of a possession, an extension of the narcissist's identity. So when the partner of a narcissist begins to show any sign of difference, such as having feelings, having needs, or thoughts that are not in sync with the narcissist's fantasy, narcissists will experience this as a kind of a betrayal. And this is because the narcissist has a very hard time, a very hard time understanding that internal contents and external appearances are not the same thing. They confuse the outside version they created with the real inner self of another person. So you're supposed to be like that snapshot. You're supposed to be like that role, that script that they wrote for you. So when your internal truth begins to emerge, to them, it feels like that you've changed. No, it's just your inner content coming out, and it's not what they idealized. It's not what they saw. It's just you. It's just you being your real you. And if you've been with a narcissist, you have heard phrases like, you've changed. During the time that we've been together, you've changed so much. You're not the same person. I'm becoming better and you're becoming worse. And what's worse is because you are being you, because you're expressing your needs, you're expressing your internal content. They will claim that you're being selfish in that moment, that you have needs and preferences. What's happening here is that your realness is threatening their illusion. It's threatening their sense of control over that snapshot that they took of you, because the entire relationship is built on projection and mirroring. And that kind of a relationship cannot withstand any kind of a difference. Like, even the snapshot was never meant to hold you. It was just meant to hold an image of you that's flattering to the false self. And it's at this moment that the narcissist feels like they've been cornered, they've been betrayed, they've been hurt, and they have no choice now but to emotionally detach from you. So the shared fantasy becomes to unravel. And usually at this stage is not them saying it to you. It's very strange actions. And a lot of it is done in silence, like a chilling withdrawal. And the reason why this happens is because you're now, putting it in quotations, useless to the narcissist's illusion. In fact, you've become a threat to the narcissist's fragile sense of self. You've become a threat to the fantasy. And at this point, you start to see that the narcissist comes home late. They're spending more time in the TV room or in the other room, not wanting to be around you. They start closing doors that were once open. You could freely come and go. They'll start sleeping on the couch. They claim that they're always exhausted and they need their own space. Sometimes they just disappear, stay out late, don't come home. Conversations become shorter, eye contacts fade. Let's just say all that is left is distance. There's no more presence. Technically, the narcissist was never really present because the real self is not there, but even that physical aspect of them is no longer present. And this withdrawal is not random. It's very much calculated by the narcissist, because this is the way that they're able to preserve the fantasy, by quietly removing you from it, because you're no longer idealized, you're no longer needed. Your services are no longer needed because you've been a bad service provider anyway. And you know what? Like, in a healthy relationship, people can become distant and cold, but there's always room for repair. There's always room to express yourself and to be heard. Even if there's some friction and back and forth and it takes a while. Sometimes it takes people years to establish connection. But with the narcissist, this is a completely different story. And that's because the narcissist is in a kind of a double bind, which is created by the false self. On the one hand, like a normal, healthy couple who come and say, like, you did this, I hurt. Well, I heard that you do that. That's an expression of vulnerability. The narcissist cannot show vulnerability, because doing this is going to expose their feelings of inadequacy, shame, and dependency, which is existentially threatening to them. For crying out loud, the false self is there to defend them from that, because that's what they were feeling as an infant. So it's not possible to talk to them. It's not possible to repair, because that process of repairing requires tapping into these kinds of emotions. And on the other hand, they are too grandiose to admit any kind of a fault. Like, for them to admit that they are a participant in a situation and to have their share in the conflict shatters their illusion of superiority. And they depend on that. That's what the false self depends on. So what happens instead? What happens is that you bring up any kind of a grievance or having any kind of an emotional need. If you make any request, or any expression of hurt, the script will right away be flipped on you. What happens usually here, it's almost as if they have like pre-written list, like a rehearsed list of everything you have ever done wrong. And there's no nuances here. There's no compromises. It's just an uncompromising blame in that moment. And the message behind that is that everything that's happening to you, you brought it on yourself. You deserve what you're getting. You deserve to be hurt. And they usually give you an ultimatum. If you want to fix things, you need to take all the blame. You have to accept that you're either the problem, the full problem, or the relationship breaks. For the narcissist, there is no middle ground here being jeopardized for it. Its sense of self is about the false self. And we got to understand that the narcissist, because of that problem with object relations, it doesn't have a shared reality with you. So the only objective of the narcissist here is to maintain control. It needs to maintain control of the relationship, of you, of the narrative, and the false self cannot lose control here. And what happens next is what we can call emotional discard before the actual discarding happens. And this phase is called devaluation. And it's the absolute and utter shadow of Venus. To the narcissist, what they claim to adore before becomes an absolute disappointment. And they will express this in one way or another. You become inadequate. The ways that you were soulful and ideal is projected back to you as you being flawed, ordinary, and even offensive. And this is the feelings, the way that the narcissist goes about the devaluation phase. Now we gotta ask yourself, why does this happen? This is because the narcissist's love was never rooted in reality. It was all rooted in projection. The partner was never loved for who they were, but how well they were able to uphold the narcissist's fantasy. So when you or when the partner begins to show autonomy, express emotions, evolve a little bit as a human being, all of it disrupts the narcissist's illusion. And as explained, that is a betrayal to the narcissist. So the narcissist here has to destroy you, destroy the reflection that no longer flatters the narcissist. The partner here is a source of discomfort, limitation, and it's something that cannot be tolerated by the narcissist. So the devaluation starts and it takes many forms. The narcissist starts to pick their partner apart here. Everything that they used to praise them for now is a point of criticism. It's a point of belittling. They might even come out and say, you're emotionally burdensome to me. Why do I have to spend so much time with you? Why do I have to be around you? It can get very cruel, brutal, and painful. And at the same point of devaluation, I explained this in the Mercury video, they start to rewrite the entire history that they had with you. And as I explained in the first video with the sun and moon, they start to make statements of, you have never been like this. You have always been like that. That blame shifting just becomes extreme. That splitting and good and bad, them being good and you being bad, is to the extreme, to the point that you sit there and you're just like, how could this be real? I mean, it all feels like an emotional whiplash, this stage of devaluation. Like the narcissist at this point, when I'm saying like it starts to rewrite history, it's not that only that they're withdrawing from that love dynamic, the supposed love dynamic, but the entire reality of experiences are being shifted and rewritten. That's why you always do this. You have never done that. And you have to realize a narcissist doesn't experience this as cruelty. In their mind, you're the cruel one because you cause all of this pain. How dare you have deviated from that fantasy, from that role, from that script? How dare you have betrayed me? What made you think you can evolve and change? From their perspective, you have failed. You failed to maintain the fantasy. You introduce complexity into the relationship. You introduce complexity of being human and you stopped mirroring them. You became real. So it's your fault. And we got to remember, realness for the narcissist is the most dangerous thing. After all, the core of itself is the false self. It is what is unreal. That's what's real to the narcissist. Realness exposes the frailty of their inner world. It's the vulnerability of having the false self exposed. At this point, Venus as a planet of connection and relationship is no longer operational. The possibility of bridging the gaps, understanding, empathy, emotional reciprocity, everything's gone. At this point, Mars enters marching forward in front of Venus. And we'll explore this aspect of Mars in the next video. At this point, the point is that intimacy collapses and absolute conflict takes over. Like that capacity for intimacy at the beginning and all those big proclamations of love, everything that was glorified is now used as a weapon against the partner. You cannot distinguish love at this point from punishment. They are the same thing in the narcissist mind. And for the partner of a narcissist, the stage is very devastating. You go from the feeling of being chosen, cherished, to being completely ignored, insulted, blamed like you do not matter. You go from all good to all bad, from angel to the devil. And it's not uncommon for a lot of partners of narcissists at this point to start questioning themselves of what did I do wrong? What do I need to do? This can go on. This is why relationship with some narcissists go on for years and years. And all of this is just all these steps that we talked about are just repeated over and over and over again. Just imagine how devastating that is. And the truth that the partners of narcissists have to remember is that you didn't change. You were merely being a human being evolving. You were showing your true, real, authentic self. And you simply, by doing that, by just being you, being the real you stop being useful to the illusion of the narcissist. That's what you did wrong, quote unquote. And that is something that the narcissist cannot forgive. Because that is you being real, you being you, is annihilating the narcissist. And this is why they need to punish at the end. Because in their mind, how dare you try to annihilate me? I'll show you. And you got to remember, they have this obsession with winning and having the upper hand. So they will go out of their way, a lot of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So now we come to the final phase when it's happening, hell and a curse, in hindsight of life, a blessing, which is the discard phase. Or there can be a kind of a recycle too at this phase. That's why this whole thing repeats again if someone doesn't get out and go no contact. So we're talking about an ending at this point. That, we got to remember that Venetian quality that was so exalted, all of it at the beginning, is now revoked. That love that you felt one time, that felt cosmic, fated, even life-altering, is just completely cut off from its bloodline. And you have to remember, with the narcissist, a lot of times, actually, let me explain how, because in normal relationships, in healthy relationship, two people are at conflict for a long time. They've been going back and forth and trying to fix things. They go see a counselor, a therapist. It's like no matter what they do, they cannot align their value. So at some point, they get to a place where they're like, I don't think I can stay in this relationship anymore. And it's not a surprise to anyone. It's like, yeah, we've been working at this. Like, I don't want to do it, but if we can't align, then we can't align. This does not happen with a narcissist. There's nothing healthy about this relationship. It's usually abrupt. It's their decision. It comes without any kind of a warning a lot of times. They do not understand the idea of closure. And that's because they cannot understand the idea of accountability. So in the discard phase, things can be very abrupt and sudden. So the narcissist can just completely disappear. Like they might leave the relationship without you even having an opportunity to have a conversation about it. And the craziest thing is they left without a word, and the next day they were seen with another person hand in hand as if they've been in love for the past 5 years. So the replacement can be very swift too. This ending can just be like quickly. Like you don't have room to process. You wonder how they're processing, but you definitely know you can't process like that. Like the replacement can be swift and surgical. And a lot of times they were setting up the next one because they need supply. They can't go without, they're going to collapse without the supply. So they were setting it up before that. So as long as they're out of this relationship, they're right away into another relationship. And a lot of them will use this as a weapon against you, that thing that they need to destroy you. So they're going to make sure that you're seen, that they're seen with their new partner, or that they tell you. It's like, why? They need to destroy you. They need to see you destroyed. Because how dare you have made them feel so vulnerable by exposing the illusion and not corresponding to the false self. That is a crime worthy of the greatest punishment, which is your destruction. So there's always a tone of revenge with the narcissist. The narcissist actually needs you to fall apart after they leave. Your pain, anyone's pain, as a matter of fact, gives narcissists a particular kind of energy. Narcissists actually get a particular kind of energy when someone dies. It's a way of extracting supply. It's a way of getting support, which is supply. And the way that your pain gives them energy, some of the tactics that they may use, they leave you in complete financial ruin. They create complete emotional chaos, a lot of psychological confusion, and they walk away seemingly untouched and a lot of times invigorated. In some ways, your breakdown becomes their personal momentum. It's almost as if they're harvesting power from your collapse. It's a way for them to launch into the next chapter of their life. There's something very sinister about this part of the narcissist and its personality. The kind of surge of energy they get from this kind of chaos and destruction, and to see you being destroyed is very disturbing. And if you are with a narcissist and you have not gone to a discard phase, watch the pseudo breakups, the breakups in between. Every time you break up, they get a surge of energy. It's insane, but that's how the personality is structured. And this is the final act of devaluation, which is not just about discarding you. Your destruction is showing the grandiosity of the narcissist to the narcissist. In some ways, even though you were the victim, the narcissist will make itself a cautionary tale, and somehow they become the survivor, the victim, and the hero. This is how they rewrite things. Your demise allows them to take the grandiosity to a whole new level. And it can get worse because some narcissists will go on to tarnish your name, recruit others to believe that you were the problem. And this is what is often called flying monkeys. So they will recruit your family, friends, colleagues, anyone that can be pulled into the narcissist orbit and can be fed the false version of the story. So again, their aim here is to hurt the partner even more, to cut them off from their support system, because they know that makes the person more vulnerable and more prone to being destroyed. And here's the crazy part. This is where things repeat. And I hope if you have walked away from a narcissist, you can find the strength in your heart and your soul to never go back and no contact. Because this is the pattern. Just when you start to pick yourself up, when your life starts to get on track, you're doing good, you feel happy, you are feeling grounded in yourself and your life, they show up again. And this is called the hoovering phase, a new set of love bombing. Here they come with an apology, a tearful message, grand gestures of remorse, false promises for decades, if not eons, none that will be kept. Again, watch the Mercury video, but make no mistake, they are not healed. They are not here to heal you. It's a re-invitation to replay that same script again. It's just a cycle restarting from the top. So that means you will be idealized as long as you agree to abandon your truth again, shrink your needs, and reflect their fantasy all over again. At this point, Venus, as the symbol, as the archetype that it is no longer recognizable. So understand, while they come with a dysfunctional Venus, being involved with them taints your Venus. To keep going back with them, your Venus is becoming just as dysfunctional. Venus is no longer the architect of connection, reciprocity, connection, harmony, peace, love, beauty, pleasure. Like at this point, Venus is anti-Venus. Venus is just a ghost of her own nature. Like love in this game of the narcissist, and especially when you keep going back, it's not at all relational. It's not emotional. It's just a very cold, crazy game that's being played in the name of love. And when, for those other people who don't go back and it's all over, how does a narcissist feel about you? You were erased. everything you gave, everything you shared is either rewritten or discarded, and it never mattered to them. As I explained in the Mercury video, narcissists do not require shared reality. They do not understand objective truth. They do not understand history and biography. They will rewrite everything. Confabulation is just how their mind is wired. And I think initially one of the greatest pain that you feel, because yeah, all these thoughts go through your mind, like, didn't they care? All these things that we shared, none of those things matter to them. And it's important to know this truth. And it's important to understand that there was never really love and there was nothing mutual about it. In a sense, you were pulled into a story that was not your story. It was not a love story. It just resembled some kind of a love story. And you were in love with the projection of the narcissist in terms of how they saw you, and you came to love yourself through their eyes, through their illusion. Being in a relationship with a narcissist is just being casted into a story. It's never about the person, it's never about love. It's just being in someone else's fantasy. And we have to remember, I was saying in the first video, a lot of theorists and professionals in this field, they say that the narcissist does this crazy pattern of idealization, devalue, discard, because they're trying to individuate, because they never got to do that through that phase of individuation, which happens before year 3 of life. And according to them, the narcissist will never be able to individuate. So this pattern will continue until the narcissist's last breath. And we got to remember, this is not something that the narcissist is choosing to do. It's something that their false self requires of them to do to survive. So to go back with a narcissist in hopes that they will change, they will never change because they are trapped in this repetition compulsion, in this repetitive cycle, which is idealization, devalue, discard. So I'm going to end it here. This video was super long. But I will come back to talk about Mars because the narcissist has an arsenal of defense because it always has to defend the false self. As we saw, there can be no contradictions, no deviation. So they have a very highly attuned and hyper-vigilant and hypersensitive Mars in their chart. So we'll come to talk about that and we'll leave it off for here. That's it for now. Much love. Till next time.